Hey, my name is Meg Nimigon, and I am a leadership coach for women. I want to welcome you to Inside Leadership with High Value Women. My guest today is Marissa Kokkoros, founder and executive director at Aura Freedom International, which is a grassroots organization that's working in Canada and internationally to end violence against women and human trafficking. Welcome, Marissa. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for the invitation.
You're welcome. So I'm curious, when you think about yourself as a leader in the wider context of your work, what do you believe has made you successful at getting people's attention and having them listen to your message?
Yeah, I think I want to preface this by saying that I don't have all the answers either,
Mm,
and that I think, I'm always learning and I still have doubts and I make mistakes and all the time. But I think for me, being a part of this long-standing relentless feminist movement and standing on the shoulders of giants before me has made me a better leader, definitely. I'm not the only woman or the first woman who's dedicated her life to ending violence against women and girls. I stand in solidarity, with so many others doing this really sacred, life-saving work every day. So, we do what we do as you mentioned so that all girls and all children, including my own daughter, can live their fullest lives, right? Free from violence, joyfully, and in a dignified way. And we all do it in different ways. And so I've learned from so many other women who came
mm,
before me and who are working along with me now. And doing this work in solidarity with, my sisters gives me hope. And
mm,
kind of like thwarts those feelings of apathy that are always trying to creep in. I
mm,
have to be careful not to enter the headspace of apathy, especially doing the work that we do.
mhm.
I have to hold on to hope, and I think we all have to hold on to hope until our last breath. So perhaps that message resonates with folks. I try and um, provide a message of hope even in the dark space and the difficult space that we work in.
Mm,
So perhaps that helps the message resonate, perhaps not. But I also think leading with love is important. And colonial thinking, and we all went to this, colonial schools, tells
mhm.
us that love is not something you bring into the professional space, right? Or the corporate space, or even the education space.
Mm.
And I don't subscribe to that thinking. I think that love is not exclusive to romantic relationships
Yeah.
or familial settings, right? Like I think we can lead with love in many ways. We can lead in many loving ways.
Mm,
And I love humanity so much. I don't love all people, but I
mhm.
do love humanity. I have a deep love for humanity, and so I must lead with love. So those are a few things that have helped me
I think that's
along the
beautiful
way.
because I think you're right. I think we have this language around love as this like soft and like thing that's only reserved for this area. But what you're actually saying is that like love is fueling you to do this very difficult, powerful work.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
love can also be a tool
Yeah.
for power and for solidarity and for, being able to rise up and not
Yeah.
be apathetic.
Yeah. Yeah. Like anger is another tool, but with leadership, you
Mm,
have to be careful with anger, right? So I also think like it's important to validate women's anger because our anger is vilified very often or,
mhm.
judged. But anger is also a tool I use, but in a different way. I don't use it as much in leadership. I use it in the advocacy and in the dismantling that I do. But love, in terms of leadership, can come from being angry about a situation because, again, like love
Yes.
for humanity, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. And I would say that you are using it in your leadership in just a different way, right? Because like when you can show
Yeah.
anger in a public place, or if you can show anger through advocacy, you're also giving that
Yeah.
example to women who we've often been told we're not allowed to be angry or we're not allowed to show anger. So I think that, maybe it's not how you're managing or leading, but you are being an example to women of what's possible when you step into, healthy anger and anger where it feels like that's what needs to be expressed.
Yes. Yes. I mean, we've all been told. I've been told repeatedly, like, you sometimes you're just too angry and people aren't listening, aren't going to listen
Hmm.
to you. And
Hmm.
it used to really bother me, and it doesn't anymore. It bothered me when I was younger and thinking, okay, I have to tone this down. How do I get this message across? And there are ways to do it, and you kind of hone that skill.
Hmm.
Um, and you channel it in different ways, but our anger is justified. And our
Hmm.
anger, in a way, is sacred. So I don't want to take that
Hmm.
away, definitely. Yeah.
What's been like a lesson that you've learned along the way? You've been leading, for quite a few years now. I'm curious, what's a lesson that you've learned through your own leadership journey that maybe surprised you or changed the way that you started leading differently?
I think trust is important.
Mm.
Um, like good leadership is democratic, right?
Mm.
Um, but democracy requires trust. And if not, you have a dictatorship, right? Without
Mm.
trust. And we
Hmm.
see that in the world right now. We're surrounded by that. And so trusting your teams, and it doesn't mean you trust blindly. It doesn't mean that you don't have like careful oversight and processes in place. And it doesn't mean that you're not mindful of broken trust. But we have to, I've learned, this is me speaking personally,
Yeah.
that I have to trust our people and our team to show what they have to offer to be
Mm.
the best that they can be. If you're not trusting them with the organization, with yourself, then like everything is kind of stunted and limited,
Right. Hmm.
right? Um, that's been a lesson for me. It's not easy for me to do that. It's something that I'm learning to do more and more is trust. And it comes more easily when you do it more often to just
Mm.
trust and say, and as a founder, there's this thing called founder syndrome, and I'm really
Yeah.
aware of it. It's not lost on me. So I'm
Uh-huh.
very mindful to ensure that I'm trusting others because they have brilliant ideas too, and they have, so much to offer, and they want to do this thing with me.
Mhm.
So how can I not trust them? And yeah, so trust, I've learned that trust is one of the most important pieces of leadership.
Mm, yeah, that's beautiful. And that's so different from sort of traditional style of leadership, right? Where it's very top down and it's very much, I have the answers and you need to follow the instructions.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
is a difficult skill to build, trusting, especially when you're a founder, right? Because this is like the thing
yeah.
that you've built and you feel like you want to protect it. But I love what you
You
said,
do, and you have to, and you
bringing
have
in
to.
other people's, ideas to make it better.
Yeah,
But yeah, holding that container so that you also still protect the mission, right? And that it doesn't just kind of
yeah,
go into a million different directions.
yeah, yeah. Because again, like you can't trust blindly. That's also not realistic.
Yes.
But the default being that the trust is given, and then, seeing where it goes, and it always goes in a good place, really, in my experience.
Right.
It's rare that it hasn't, and sometimes it doesn't, and you address it, but yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
When I invited you on this call, you were noticing the title, right? High value women. And you wanted to bring forth into the conversation some of the systemic issues that play into how value is perceived, especially with women. I would love for you to bring that into the conversation and just share a little bit more about what you mean by that.
Yeah, and you know what? I think my reaction was twofold. So one was the patriarchy tells women and girls that anytime they're complimented or given praise, that they have to downplay that to avoid, I don't know, seeming arrogant or
Yeah.
seeming, whatever. So being on this podcast as a high value woman, I had like a jerk reaction to that. Like, well, everyone is high value, right? And I believe like all women and all people are high value. So there was
Mhm.
that. And then the second thing was like those same patriarchal undercurrents create these narratives that deem some people valuable and some people not valuable, whether
Mhm.
that's, based on the color of their skin, their gender, how much money they have, their abilities, or disabilities. And
Mhm.
like the perceived value of women is something I speak about a lot. And it depends on, a lot of things. Are they mothers of multiple children? Are they attractive? Are they good women? Are they caregivers? Are they soft and feminine? Do they sacrifice themselves to a
Yes.
fault? Are they giving? Do they downplay their strengths? Do they center men? Do they apologize for men? So
Mhm.
I also was questioning, and thank you for asking this question. Like I was questioning the title of it because of that too. And those same, again, patriarchal undercurrents tell men what
Mhm.
their value is, right? So just like
Mhm.
women, men, how much money they can make, or how
Mhm.
successful they can be, or how physically strong and dominant they can be. And so we have these gender roles in our society that value people and rank people. And I just don't subscribe to it at all. I
Mhm.
think
Mhm.
the strongest, most beautiful men are those that use their power to uplift others and to value every living being on this planet and use their own advantages and strengths to uplift uh, the little boys and girls around them and kids around them, and those who are not afraid of like the power and brilliance of women. So when we
Mhm.
talk about value, I'm always cognizant of that. And that's why I was questioning you on the name of the podcast. But obviously I appreciate the need for women in leadership to see other women in leadership and learn from them and how they do it. Like I said, I learn from mostly women, some men as well, every day. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that you brought that in, and it's so important, right? Because value is something that is can be defined by many people in many different ways. And so,
Yeah.
as you said,
Yeah.
like there's not one way of showing your value or being
No.
valuable. And I think that can
Yeah.
also be a real challenge for women in the workplace because they are looking at one stream of what valuable might look like, and they might be bringing that value and still not get a same opportunity as somebody else. And so they're trying to subscribe to this thing that doesn't exist. And I think
Yeah.
it is important to talk about that and to think about what is the value that I want to bring into the world? What is my unique value? What does value mean to me? And am I living up to my own standards there? Am I living in the way that I want to define value? And I think it's so important that you brought that into the discussion. So we're not
Yeah.
trying
And
to raise ourselves up to some other person's standard of value, but actually, what is the value that I want to bring? And am I bringing it?
exactly. And that's different for everybody, of course. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to dictate what that is. I just know what it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fortunate to work in a space in the feminist space and the gender-based violence, the anti-violence sector, where I work with a lot of women who would also say the same thing, or like-minded people who challenge the perceived value of women and men. So I don't work in the corporate space. So
Mm-hmm.
but for women who do, and some of those women are on our board of directors and many of my friends, I see another dynamic. So I'm already struggling with that in socially, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not so much professionally. There's still a little bit of that because we all go to the school of the patriarchy, all of us, and we've all gone to the same school, but it's less. So
Mm-hmm.
for women who are in the corporate space, it's even stronger, that perceived value of women. And yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's why
I
also I
wouldn't
think
be able to do it.
it's important to have these conversations too, right? Because I think the more women who are in leadership positions like yourself who could speak to these things that aren't brought into the conversation very often
Yeah. Yeah.
can start to shift things, right? We need to be having more voices and more perspectives and not just this one dominant voice that everyone's trying to prescribe to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious, what's a growth edge or a challenge that you're currently working on in your career or in your leadership? Something that, maybe you're trying to break through on.
Yeah. I think I'm at this stage trying to be mindful and intentional about aligning the way I think, what I think good leadership is, with the way I actually lead.
Mm-hmm.
So some self-reflection. I'm not a person that does a lot of self-reflection, just I'm hardwired to keep going and not look back.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit mistakes, but I keep going and like, okay, let's do this. Yeah, I'm just hardwired not to look back. But I've been looking back a little bit more because it's easy for those things to be misaligned. Like what you think good leadership is, like I'm on this podcast here talking about it, and are you actually doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for me, like I want to ensure I'm never ever stifling anyone's power. You know, women's power has been stifled for way too long. And a good leader wants to see their people fly. And genuinely I do. I love seeing our team members fly and do great things. I have to ensure I'm letting people be who they are
Mm-hmm.
and not who they think I want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
uh like I'm a dismantler, right? So I even though that doesn't always work out for me or for Aura Freedom, I can't help it. It's just who I am. So as a dismantler, I also have to encourage others to dismantle things that aren't working for them
Mm-hmm.
as well. So in high school, I was nominated by my peers and my teachers as valedictorian. This is just an example, right?
Okay.
It was my vice principal who said I was inappropriate and unpredictable and perhaps not the best choice. And it was one of my teachers that told me that he used those two words, inappropriate and unpredictable. And it really didn't
Yeah.
matter that I, you know, represented my school at academic competitions. I was in the gifted program, that I was in all these clubs and like, supported students who needed support, who were having difficulty at home. It didn't matter that I did all these things. What he saw was someone with like blue hair, um, you know, combat boots, a loud unwavering voice, and a Catholic girl, a girl in a Catholic school who didn't know her place. Like that's what he saw.
Yeah.
So today my entire job depends on that girl. Like I get to
Yes.
be that girl
Yes.
for a living. And it's a dream. And I do it so that all girls know, including my own daughter, that their place, right, is anywhere they want it to be,
Yes.
right? And that they have the right to be in that place safely, and that they have the right to be in that place joyfully. Um, and that if that place or if that system is harming them, then they have a right to question it and to dismantle it. So my mother never asked me to change who I was, right? She
Mhm.
never stifled my power. She never asked me to lower my voice, like unless she was trying to sleep.
Yeah.
And and for that, or my music, she never asked me to lower my music until later on in life when she was probably at the age I am now and overstimulated.
Yeah.
And I'm eternally grateful for that,
Yeah.
So I don't want to tell anyone to be something different. I want to lead in that way where everyone can be their truest selves. And it's a cliche, but it's so true, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like the way you put it in terms of like not stifling other people's power, right? And just giving that
yeah,
opportunity for people to just be truly who they are and feel safe to, and whether that always is going to perfectly align with the work or not, still getting
yeah.
that space and then being able to have, conversations that out in the open as opposed to people just trying to fit into a mold that doesn't feel good to them.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not going to be perfect. I can't even do everything I want to do professionally as well because, Aura Freedom is a registered charity and like, there are rules we have to work with and
Mhm.
so but still I can be myself. I'm still
Yes.
myself at
Mhm.
work and everyone has the right to be themselves at work.
Yes. When everything is said and done and you're looking back, what legacy do you hope to leave through the contributions of your career?
Yeah, oh my God, legacy is like another sticky one for me because I feel
Mhm.
like I'm sure everyone feels like that, right? Like there's a bit of, or a lot of ego attached to legacy, but at the same time, leaving behind a legacy that makes the world better is an
Mhm.
important thing. So if there's one thing I would like my colleagues and like my friends and my sisters in this work to remember me as someone who cultivated the sisterhood.
Mm.
Um, every day, like with my own hands. And that's one of my favorite things to do. It's,
Mhm.
I think, one of Aura Freedom's superpowers is convening um, women at common tables, convening not just feminists, but different people who want to see a better world and
Mhm.
unlikely combinations of women at tables and those kind of things are just so exciting for me and to foster that is a gift that I get to unwrap almost every day. I
Mhm.
think it's awesome. Yeah. And like seeing the unleashing of feminine power and feminine energy that's been silenced for so long is awesome. So the sisterhood, that's the legacy. And I'm not the only one doing that. The sisterhood heals us, right? It heals, it provides, it protects us too.
Mhm.
Um, I know I can call up my friends and colleagues and feel protected.
Mhm.
And yeah, so if that would be one thing, would be the
Yeah.
sisterhood.
Yeah, that's so important. I feel like that's so refreshing to hear. I think we also, as you talk about being schooled in the patriarchy, it's always about competition and comparison. And when you talk about the
Yeah,
sisterhood and, I can
yeah.
feel it in your energy. I can feel it in how you lead. Like I can feel that you are not alone in it and it feels very different. And I just want to acknowledge that and thank you for the work.
Oh, thanks,
Yeah.
Meg. You know, it, it's fun. Like we have a lot of fun, and I call it feminist mischief. Like we're always up
Yeah.
to no good, but doing good,
Yeah. Yeah.
and always up to no good. It's fun, and I think maybe I'd like to add that in too because
Mhm.
I take it in stride, but it is definitely part of my leadership style is time for fun and
Mhm.
time for, troublemaking and mischief together, like in the best way.
Mhm.
That fills our cups, and yeah, we need that. We need
Yeah.
more fun, especially, in the world today. Sometimes people will say, like, how can you? I've had messages from people asking, you're talking about these horrible things like femicide. How can you have a big smile on your face? And it's such a strange question to ask because, like, we're all human. Like, we are doing this
Mhm.
really hard work, but we still laugh and we can still appreciate humor. And yeah, to me, I don't separate those two things. I can speak about um, the murders of women and girls. And in the next breath, I can laugh. And that is a thing. Like that is just such a human thing. And the laughter perhaps is something that heals us. So yeah,
Mhm.
I want to definitely bring that into the legacy as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think we all need more fun and mischief as we think about
Yeah.
leading into the future and disrupting things. And so
Yeah.
I just want to thank you again for coming on this and also
Yeah.
speaking truth to the work that you're doing and offering, your own perspective on it. It's very lovely to hear about and also just very powerful. So thank you so much.
Thanks for inviting me, Meg.
You're welcome.